Hey everyone, it's Darren. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about Excel errors, and I know what you're thinking. It's like you're thinking, I never make errors. I don't need this video. Well, personally, I make errors all the time. Most of them are simple typos or put the parameters in wrong or whatever. And Excel actually is pretty helpful when it comes to finding those errors. And if you've watched my videos long enough, you'll see when I hit an error, it takes me about 2 seconds usually to fix it. Uh, so we're going to go through what the errors are that Excel can actually give you here. And these are the errors that will actually land in your cells. The first one, obviously, divide by zero. Well, what's divide by zero? Well, you divide it by zero. Okay. You may not have made it quite so simple as this over here, where I actually intentionally divided by zero, but you're dividing by a cell reference or a formula or something that equates to zero. And that does happen all the time. A real common place that happens. Let's say you're looking for same store sales, for example. Uh, Same store sales and percentage is going to be this year's sales divided by last year's sales. Pretty simple. Unless your store happened to open this year, in which case you have zero from last year, and that gives you an error. So that's where you get divide by zero. Uh, Value here. You can commonly get that when you're trying to do a find and your item isn't found. NA is really common. That's usually as you're searching through lists. You'll get that a lot in VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, HLOOKUP. Uh, those are usually that means that it's not there, and typically it'd be something like an inventory item doesn't exist or a customer number doesn't exist. Name. Name means you typed the function name wrong. Believe it or not, there is no Excel function George. Um, Num is an invalid number. Something like square root of -1. That's not a real number. Reference is a little less obvious sometimes and can be more of a problem to track down. In this case, you see I'm just referencing F6. But when I created this spreadsheet, I had F6 out there. Then I deleted column F. So now that whole column's gone. The cell it's pointing to isn't there. And that can be if it's missing a cell, if it's missing a column, if it's missing a row, if it's missing a whole sheet, if it's missing external files, anything like that will give you that reference error. Um, Null is rare. I've never run into this one in the real world. Null is when you're using space as an operator, as you see in here. And that's the intersection of two ranges. You may never use it, but I'm going to show you what to do with it anyway. Uh, so a couple of things that Excel gives you that makes it really easy to track down what's going on. Uh, so let's take this one here. When you go on a cell that has an error, you'll get this little caution sign and a drop down. Hit the drop down, tells you divide by zero error in case div/0 doesn't explain it well enough. Pick help on this error, and that's going to open up your help file, and it's going to give you a little more information. It'll give you examples of what causes it. It'll tell you what you need to do to fix it. Uh, it'll also tell you how to suppress it if you need to, and we'll come back to those in a second here. The other thing that Excel gives you, though, if you come back over here, is it gives you show calculation steps. And what this tells you is it shows you the next evaluation will result in an error. 1 divided by 0. You hit evaluate, you get divided by 0. Okay. That's not so useful here. Well, let's come down here to this one. And this one's a little more complex formula. It's A12 plus A13 times A14 divided by A15. Not too bad, but still there. So let's show the calculation steps on this one. So when we go into show calculation steps, it brings you up to the step that's going to cause the error. So in this case, it brings us up to 1 plus 6 divided by 0. Well, I know that my formula is A12 plus A13 times A14 divided by A15. I don't see 1 plus 6 divided by 0. Okay. Unfortunately, you can only move forward here. We're going to go ahead and evaluate, and it gives you the error. Now it's 1 plus divided by 0. Evaluate again. It's divided by 0. But now you get restart. So if you just click through till you get restart, and this gives you your original formula. the things you're looking for here are A12 is underlined. There's nothing in italics right now. A12 is underlined. And the instructions here say the to show the result of the underlined expression, hit evaluate. So we're going to hit evaluate. And you see that A12 just became 1. It just evaluated A12. This is actually showing you exactly what steps Excel's using as it goes through in order to calculate everything, really. And you can go through really complex functions. And now you see 1 is in italics because that's the last thing it calculated. A13 is underlined because that's the next thing it's going to calculate. A couple of things that you see here, you have step in and step out. Step in, let's say that instead of just being A13, or let's say A13 was a formula. If you do step in, that's going to show you uh, the formula that was hanging out at A13. Do step out, it closes that out. So you can go as deep as you need to. So now I see you have 1 plus 2 times A14, and A14 is the next thing to evaluate. So we'll evaluate that. Now I have 1 plus 2 times 3, number standard mathematical order of operations. So we'll do 2 times 3, and we evaluate that. Comes out to 6. 1 plus 6 divided by A15, everything's still great. I see A15 is underlined, so when I evaluate that, that gives me a 0. Oh, I see where my problem's going to be here. Uh, so I know that A15 number, which was the thing I just evaluated, that's my problem. So I can look over here and see A15. Oh, yeah, that's kind of a 0. And then if you evaluate again, that gives you the error. And now this doesn't necessarily end things. If you were using uh, one of the 2 error management functions that Excel provides, you could actually keep going. But in this case, we're not. So you evaluate 1 plus divide by 0 error, and you get divide by 0 error. Okay. Uh, so I mentioned some error management functions. There's 2 of them, if error and if NA. So if error, if we do equals if error of B2, and then what do you want to do if it's true? So in this case, oops, and see, had an error. Uh, so my error here is just that I had extra parentheses in there. So we'll copy this down, and you may notice that these say 0 here. And the reason those say 0 is because there's no error over there. That's space, and spaces are zeros. Uh, so what about if NA? Well, NA is a really common one that usually you have to manage. Uh, some of these, like divide by 0, you'll also need to manage. Like I said, in case of like same store sales, uh, you'll want to manage that. Um, but the NA one is really common, and you might have tens of thousands of lines, and you don't necessarily want to like kick out an error. You just want to put in another value maybe. Uh, and the syntax is exactly the same. If NA, B2, then we're going to say it's a new customer. And I still get divided by 0. Well, the reason I still get divided by 0 is that's not the NA error. So if I copy this down all the way, you see on the where I had the NA error, I have new customer. And that gives me a way to catch that sort of an error or missing inventory item or things like that. That's usually what the NA is. Okay, so normally you'll actually wind up embedding these or wrapping another function with them. So instead of actually doing a separate column, you'd actually put it over here. So you could put um, if error and that will give you the error there. But here's the thing, you don't have to wrap the entire cell. And a lot of times you won't wrap the entire cell. So let's take this back to where it was. Okay, so we're back to divide by zero. Um, so let's say if A15 equals zero, then that means that A14 divided by A15 is going to be div zero. So I could actually just stick it right in here. And again, what your function's doing determines where you'll stick it and what you'll do with it. But I could just stick in here if error A14 divided by A15, comma, let's do 1. And now I don't get an error there anymore because I've managed this error. Now, is 1 what you want to put in there? Depends on your data. Um, it might be 1, it might be 0, it might be something completely different. Just remember, if you're sticking it in the middle of a formula, if you put in the word error here, you're going to be multiplying A13 times error, and that's probably not going to give you anything useful. Uh, so, so that's kind of what you need to do to manage your Excel errors. They're all pretty straightforward. They're pretty quick to get through. Just remember, whenever you have an error, if you don't immediately know what it is, you can always go to help on the error. And these help functions are pretty good over here. They tend to give you examples. They'll also explain how to use the if error function and the if NA function as appropriate. And you can also always come over here and do show calculation steps because that's probably the easiest way to jump in there and figure out what's actually going on, what's causing your error if you don't see it immediately. So I hope this has helped. If you learn anything from the video, please hit like. Also, go subscribe and hit notify so you can see when new videos come out. I have a Patreon page as well at patreon.com/data analysis excellence. If you could help out the channel that way, that would be great. Uh, so until next time, hope you have a great day. Thanks.